Or,
Yeah.
unbelievable, what are you doing today?
No, it's expensive.
Oh, okay, there's,
Coincidence.
oh, that's right. You got it.
You're sitting in a good spot for that.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we're not
Yeah.
gonna lose track.
I need someone to evaluate me as a grammarian.
Yeah, I'm still working on mine. How much longer we have to do? Still using it?
June, the books, June 2020.
Oh, good, good. We'll get through them in a year. We're trying to get it out for CL for, for our presidency.
I'm hoping to finish my,
You still don't need an
You're gonna get it done.
I'm gonna try this book, yeah, but today is my last CC.
I think so.
CC.
So, this is really
She just ran for chair.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, my name is David Wood and I'm your Sergeant
if he
at
doesn't
Arms.
show up.
Welcome to another meeting of the Toastmasters. Now, without further ado, I'd like you all to join me in welcoming our presiding officer, Beth Mann.
Welcome to another wonderful meeting of the Frederick Toastmasters Club. This is a safe learning environment, a learning lab, if you will, where we can practice and improve our communication and leadership skills. I'm going to ask for either guests to introduce themselves or for the inspiration. I'm going to ask for our guests to introduce yourselves. We just want to hear your name, what brought you here tonight. And then during the meeting, there will be opportunities to participate, and the Toastmaster of the evening will explain those to you. And so you can participate as much or as little as you want. All we really ask of the guests is that you introduce yourself, tell us what brought you here, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll ask you what you thought of the meeting. Other than that, how much or little you participate during the meeting is sort of up to you. And so with that, if I can have you introduce yourself, please, sir.
Hello, my name is Sterling Mercer, and I reside here in Frederick, Maryland. And I've heard of Toastmasters through the Frederick County workforce through Beth. I don't know her last name.
Beth Davis Reinhold.
Yes. So.
Terrific.
Hi, my name is Erin Bozes, and it might be the same Beth. From like 3-4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I went to a club, I think that was at Bechtel at the time.
Uh-huh.
And the next thing you know, life got busy and just doing work and all that. But I liked it a lot, and I want to come back and check it out and be more serious about it.
Sure.
Well, hi, my name is Frank Sanford. I live here in Frederick, Maryland. I learned of Toastmasters Club because my neighbor invited me here, and I just want to come and check it out and say hello to everyone.
Terrific. And we have returning guests, Megan.
Ooh. Okay, so I was here the last meeting. I didn't see everyone here though. So yeah, my name is Megan Gilbert. I'm here with my dad, and I'm here because I want to be a better public speaker. Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right.
So I'm Jonathan Gilbert. I'm also a veteran guest from Middletown. I was talking to Beth last week, and no, I'm just kidding. I'll probably join, so I won't have to keep introducing myself. But anyways, hello.
All right, terrific. For this evening's inspiration, I would like to invite Bakari to come up to the podium, please, or the lectern, please.
Thank you.
Be brave. Even if you're not, pretend you are. Don't let the phone interrupt important conversations. Don't be afraid to go out on the limbs, because that's where the fruit is. Don't burn bridges You'll be surprised how many times you have to cross a river at the same time. Don't forget, a person's greatest emotional need is to feel appreciated. Don't major in minor things. Don't say you don't have time. You have as much time in a given 24 hours that was given to Pastor, that was given to Michelangelo, that was given to Mother Teresa, that was given to Helen Keller, that was given to Thomas Jefferson and Albert Einstein. Don't waste words and time. Neither of them can be retrieved. Don't spread yourself too thin. Learn to say no politely and quickly. Don't waste time grieving over past mistakes. Learn about them and move on. Every person needs that moment in the sun when they raise their hands up in the air knowing on this day, on this particular moment, they've done the best that they've actually done in that particular hour. Get your priorities straight. Nobody laying in the deathbed says, oh gee, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. Give people a second chance and not a third. Judge your success by how you enjoy your health, your love, and peace. Learn to listen, because sometimes opportunity knocks very softly. Live your life with an exclamation, not an explanation. Loosen up, relaxing, which I'm trying to do. It's in very rare life situations that everything at the first glance seems as important as it is. So learn to relax. Never cut what can be untied. Never estimate your power to change others, and never underestimate the power to change yourself. Remember that overnight successes take usually 15 years. Do not seek opportunity, not security. A boat at harbor is safe, but in due time, the bottom rots out. Spend less time worrying who's right and more time deciding what's right. Don't blame others. Take responsibility for every aspect of your life. Success is getting what you want. Happiness is getting what you like. The important thing about winning is not what we get from it, but what we become from it. When you are faced with a difficult situation, act like it's impossible to fail. Thank you.
Jerry Stevens is our Toastmaster of the evening. Please welcome Jerry Stevens.
My job today is to keep us on schedule. We're already behind schedule, but this is a fantastic evening. We have 4 speakers, not 3. We have 1 speaker that's giving their 10th speech in the Competent Communicator path. We have an icebreaker. They're always incredibly exciting. Just a fantastic evening. Again, my name's Jerry Stevens. I'd like to be your host, and I can't do this without the help of many others. So I'd like to ask my helpers to introduce themselves and briefly describe their roles for this evening. Let's start with the grammarian, Larry.
As grammarian, my role is to listen for proper use of the English language, to listen also for creative use of the English language. We like to build people up as well as snag them when they're on, but that's not my job tonight. So I'll be listening and paying attention and hopefully catching, and not saying again.
Yeah, I'm
Catching.
counting over here.
And Beth mentioned we have a learning lab. That's exactly what this is. It's not about criticism, it's about helping people grow. That's what I'm doing.
And Tom, can we have the word of the day? Where's Tom?
Huh.
day. So here at Toastmasters, we not only like to improve our members' ability to present well, and not only want to help our members become better leaders, but we want to improve their education. So we provide word of the day. Today's word is untenable. It means not able to be maintained or defended against our attack, or to defend it against attack or objection. So an example of that would be the partial government shutdown was an untenable situation. So a temporary stopgap funding was provided to restart the government. So if you have a chance while you're doing your presentations or speaking this evening, if you use the word untenable, we will keep track of that and give you a special prize at the end. That prize being our undying admiration for using the word untenable.
Thank you, Tom. And Lisa, would you explain the counting?
Yes, and I will be the one keeping track of everyone that uses untenable. And you do get our undying appreciation, and maybe if you're lucky, a gold star. So let's see who can use it the most. I will be keeping track of ums, ahs, and, you knows, and general. My best one was so but. So but. Oh, there I did. So I'll be keeping track of that. And in order to improve our speaking abilities, and sometimes you just have to have it brought to a conscious level. And when you bring it to a conscious level, then you start realizing, oh my heavens, I'm using it so much, and I don't want to do that. So I'll be keeping track of that tonight.
Unmoved, would you mind telling us about the timekeeping?
I will be the timer for tonight, and our time is precious, so I'll be helping that the meetings is going smoothly on time, and especially I will helping with operating the time device and let the speakers know how much time they use. So for the green light, it means the speakers reach the minimum time limit. The yellow light means you are in the middle, and the red light means you have to wrap up in 30 seconds. So for the speakers, usually it's 5 to 7 minutes, but the other times are written on the agenda. And table topics 1 to 2 minutes, evaluation 2 to 3 minutes. And I will give my report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Anvu. Lizette is running a little behind. She just walked in. While she gets comfortable, I'm going to ask Beth to explain her role as the vote counter, please.
Okay, as the vote counter, Lizette will be collecting your votes for best speaker, best evaluator, and best table topic speaker. They're at the bottom of this ballot. Everybody is welcome to participate, including guests. We don't typically fill out second or third. We just write in our choice for best. Those get put into these buckets, and then Lizette will tally them and provide that tally to our Toastmaster of the evening so that he can present prizes at the end. The top portion of the ballot is for comments, and you're encouraged to use that if you really want to give some feedback to a speaker and you want to put it in writing and hand it to them. Everybody loves getting feedback, especially if you want to tell them what a nice job they did. But if you want to give them some constructive criticism, that's also welcome. So you can use the top portion. Optionally, the bottom portion is for voting.
Thank you, Beth. We do have a couple of schedule changes. I'd like to make you aware of that. Ruth, our second speaker of the night, is home with a sick child. In her place, we'll be having Srinivas speak. Instead of Venkat doing the table topics, Joe will fill in. And evaluator number 2 will be Alex in place of Kat. Now tonight is separated into 3 sections.
Evaluator number 4, Susan.
Oh yes, thank you, Joe. And evaluator number 4 is Susan. The evening is organized into 3 sections. There are the prepared speeches, the impromptu speeches, and then evaluations. like to begin the prepared speeches with Leanne's speech. Leanne is speaking on the topic, Never Tire of Doing Good Deeds. This is her 10th speech in the Competent Communicator path, so that's fantastic. Congratulations, we're really, really excited to hear. Leanne enjoys doing the service-oriented work of administrative assistance and accounting. She lives and works in Frederick City. She's the mother of 2 beautiful and wonderful 20-somethings. Is a 2008 FCC graduate and a passionate environmentalist. Leanne has been a member of Frederick Toastmasters since September 2016. Now, Leanne.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Yes. Has anybody ever wanted to thought about doing something, some good deed, but thought they would feel silly or useless about doing it? Have you ever wanted to give somebody a compliment or a piece of advice, but thought it would be rejected, so you just didn't do it? Fear and hopelessness sometimes keep us from doing good deeds. Even deeds that, have you ever done anything repeatedly, then felt like you're really not doing anything at all? That can also be a deterrent. I like to walk for exercise. I walk in Baker Park, and I walk around where I live. When I walk, I take a garbage bag with me, and I pick up litter as I go. Most of this litter consists of plastic water bottles and plastic wrappers. I can walk the same path multiple times a week and still fill up a tall kitchen trash bag with single-use plastic. I get sad, I get frustrated, but I still do it. Why do I still do it? Because it makes me feel hopeful. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something. Like I'm not just ignoring the problems of society today. Whether you call it paying it forward, random acts of kindness, or doing good deeds, it is a known fact that there are many health benefits, not only to the receiver, but to the giver. By performing good deeds, you can lower mild depression, you can lower your blood pressure. Performing random acts of kindness can reduce stress and increase your own happiness. It can alter your perspective and take your mind off your own worries for a little while. And just think of all the new people you'll meet by helping others. You're probably thinking, I wouldn't even know how to start if I wanted to. Well, you start up here. You start with a change in perspective. Start with changing how you look at things. If you look at things negatively, you're only going to see the problems. But if you change your mind and start thinking about the good that you can do, you're going to do good. Your perspective creates your actions. And people do get frustrated. Like I said, I get frustrated, but I keep on going because my perspective is positive as much as it can be. And I'm not talking about doing huge, grand, big changes. You want to find something that motivates you, something that you can do continuously. Like I feel strongly about the plastic, so I'm picking up the trash and recycling where I can. When you're thinking about making changes, you wanna we hear so much negative talk in the media. We think that we can't do anything about it. And you have to remember, the motto of the media is, if it bleeds, it leads. And they're out there to sell newspapers. And for some reason, people want to hear the sensational stuff. But one of my favorite quotes from Mother Teresa, and one that I try to live by, is, I can do no small things, I can do no great things, only small things with great love. With this in mind, I keep one trash bag at a time. Has anybody ever heard of the drive-through difference? The radio station that I listen to, WGTS, every Thursday promotes what they call the drive-through difference. And what it is they talk about paying for the person behind you in a drive-through. Then people call into the radio station and they talk about their experience. You have people that have been paid for and people that have paid. And they're always talking about how good it makes them feel. You can talk, for an example, say you've had a really crummy day and you're just too tired to go home and cook dinner. So you pop into the drive-thru at McDonald's and you get up to the pay window and the cashier says, your meal's already been paid for you by the person in front of you. Have a nice day. How does that make you feel? Pretty good, I expect. Now flip that around. Say you're the person that did the paying. You don't know that that person's had a crummy day. You'll probably never know what kind of day that, who that person is. But still, how does it make you feel? Still pretty good, I expect. People, these little random acts of kindness, I want to think they lead to others. You see somebody do something and you want to do that too. Think of the person that picked up the toy the toddler dropped on the street and ran after them to give it back. Think of the example you're going to set for your child or your grandchild. If you let a person with a few items in front of you in the grocery store when you have this full cart. The person that just does the random acts of kindness, that whenever it appears, they hold the door open for you. They compliment you on your outfit. All these things people see. You may not think anybody is seeing you do these things, but people are noticing. A coworker is noticing that you're encouraging another coworker, and they think, I want to be like that. I want to do that for somebody. Just the other day, I saw two people picking up trash in a wooded area near where I walk. Did I have anything to do with that? I don't know. It still made me feel really good. I want to leave you with this. Think about what's going to motivate you to do good deeds or just do the random acts of kindness, because people are watching and copying. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Srinivas, you're starting a new journey today, an icebreaker. What level are you working on?
I guess it's level 1.
Your pathways, and which path are you taking?
Leadership development.
Leadership development. So Srinivas is giving an icebreaker speech, or sorry, I thank you, Parsa, you corrected me. Parsa is the next speaker, speaker number 2. Parsa is giving his first speech today.
No.
You're right.
Number 2.
Thank you.
The agenda is probably wrong.
Yes. So,
Second.
Srinivas is, again, giving an icebreaker on his, what path was that?
Leadership development.
Leadership development path. Srinivas.
It's going to be my life log, a travelogue. All the way from my childhood, how I ended up here. I was born in India, the land of mystics. And the largest democracy in the world, with 1.3 billion people, second only to China. The name India is actually a misnomer from British. It's based on Indus Valley civilization. It's the Indus is doing, so it becomes India. Actual name is Bharat. It's from a king, a friend of hopefully original king, because it's in the scriptures. So that's how the name actually originally around to be. And it encompasses a lot of other countries surrounding it, not only current India. It's culturally so diverse. There's so many languages, more than 20 languages. It's hundreds of dialects. And politically, it's not like here. There's so many parties. Every state has local parties. And there's only a couple of major parties, but they never get majority. Because unless they form a coalition with the local parties, that's the name of the game. And the states are formed based on regional languages. Where northern language is mostly Hindi. That's the national language. It's not a national language. It's one of the official languages, just like English. So there's no national language. There's no nationalistic language. And they all came originally from Sanskrit. It's an Indo-European original. I think some of the European languages also have that trait. I was actually born in a city called Mumbai. It's also a misnomer. It's originally called Bombay from British, and it's named Mumbai. And it's a highly metropolitan city. It's like mini New York. There's so many people from all over the India. They come to there for work. I think my dad also moved from a different state to that city for livelihood, and we all ended up there. Most of the relatives. There's so much of diversity and so much of economic differences. You see, ultra rich to beggars. It's a home to big, expensive home. It belongs to a tycoon called Mukesh Ambani. He's the richest man in Asia, and he's next to slums. I mean, it's surrounded by some. It doesn't look like slums, but it's so huge. The building is 21 story. His home, I built it. I think it's more than $1 billion in dollars worth. So growing up, I didn't have much memories. All I have is playing on the streets. I think my relatives thought that is untenable. And then they suggest to my dad that, hey, this guy to be put into a boarding school. That's something that you get when you get punished. Boarding school, going to boarding school is like, oh my God. I'm not gonna be with my parents, so I left my home around age 12. And since then, I'm away from home, living in dorms and colleges. And at the end of the college, when I graduated, obviously the natural choice of destination was the US, because my elders, my seniors, they all came to US for further studies. Coming to US was a dream come true. The college I ended up is West Virginia University. It's in Morgantown. I don't know if you know anyone. Wild and wonderful. So I came for master's, and I had a wonderful time, 2 years. It's all hilly area. So without the car, it's like you're like building your muscles all the time. And singing, country roads, I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads. So that's my life went for 2 years. And it is also the first university to try this PRT system. It has like 3 campuses spread across several miles, and they set up this driverless mini car systems. That's one of the successful stories of that university. And after, so I stayed there, graduated, master's in computer science, and then came to Virginia for work. I stayed in Virginia for, I think, a lot of time, and then at least 2009, 2002, 2004, yeah, 4 or 5 years, and before coming to Frederick. I got married, and I have a 15-year-old son going to high school. And I discussed Toastmasters, wonderful place. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivas. Recently, Srinivas admitted to us that he would like to pursue a career in singing, by the way. Gift. Our third speaker of the evening is Parsa. Parsa is giving his icebreaker on his path to dynamic leadership, level 1. His speech title is his life motto. Yes. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself. Parsa, please come up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate my mentor. We had a meeting on Sunday. Hi, my name is Parsa. I was born and raised in Iran, and I came here when I was 21 years old. I admitted here for a master's program. I graduated for my master's degree in structural engineering in 2015. And then I pursued my doctoral degree in structural engineering, and I graduated from George Washington University in 2018. And from that point, I got a job in a structural engineering firm here in Frederick. We design tunnels. And what else? I have, my parents are doctors. I have one brother who is also a doctor. So that's it. When I wanted to come up with a topic for my speech, I just wanted to come up with something that might also be helpful for you guys. It's not just about me. So what I decided to talk about was, what is my life motto? I believe every single of us, we have a life motto. It's not literally tattooed on our forehead, but it's there. It is there. And all of us, we know what that life motto is, what is written on our foreheads. My life motto is, don't give up. It's pretty simple, don't give up. And I have learned few things in a hard way that I would like to share it with you guys. They might seem to be very simple and trivial, but it worth to be repeated, because many of us, although we know it is true, we don't practice that. When I say don't give up, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that when you make a mistake, when you try, let's say you try a method, and that method doesn't work. Don't give up doesn't mean go and repeat that. Let me tell you something that I believe is not wise. What is not wise is that doing something multiple times and expecting different results. It is very trivial, but we all do it. We do things times after times in the same way, and we expect different results. That is a huge mistake that I have learned in my life in a hard way. So I'd like to share it with you, so probably you don't end up being like me. What else that I would like to, okay, the most important, so what should we do? So what does that don't give up mean? That don't give up has a very simple meaning. When you try method 1, and I assume it fails, you need to sit down and at least either abandon method 1 and go for redesigning something method 2.0, or at least sit down and modify method 1. Don't go and do method 1 again and again and again. That is something that I believe that all of us know, but sometimes we don't practice it. This is it, I guess, short and, okay, there you go. Green light. Okay, that was it. Oh, I'm good.
Parsa's very first Toastmasters. And next we have Bakari. Bakari is speaking on his Dynamic Leadership Pathways Level 1, and his project is the Be Alert system to keep you focused and balanced. This unique system will elevate your awareness to a new level. Bakari?
Toastmasters and guests. My talk today was inspired by this book here. A lot of times when I hit road bumps in my life or things are not going very well, I try and find books and kind of like dig out nuggets to help me out. But it's a power of focus, and the authors are Jack Confield, Mark Hanson, and Louis Hewitt. And in this book here, they came up with a system. It's called the Be Alert system. And I thought if I could adapt this system, it would really help me get rid of some of my ills in life. In fact, it was very good because Parsa actually kind of touched on some of these things. One of the things that really holds us back is habits. Human beings are creatures of habits, and habits, they tend to die hard. And this is the 21st day of February. How are you all doing on our New Year's resolutions? You find that you're repeating the same things that you did last year, and this is because of habit. This is what happens with a habit. When you get rid of the edge, what you have is a bed. And you try and get rid of that. What you're left with, it's bed. Okay, you get rid of the B. And the habit is still there. So what do we do? What you try and do is develop new habits to force out those old habits. And we're going to do this by a system called the BLR. This acronym here is good to adapt it because it'll help you remember what you do as you go through your year, and it'll help you achieve balance as you go through your life daily if you remember what you do here. All right. The B stands for blueprint. Blueprint is basically your plan for the day. Every day, you start the day the same way. But the best way to do, just before you go to bed every night, kind of plan out the next day. What am I planning to do today? Some people tend to write journals. I don't journal very well because I have a fear somebody's going to find it. So I have things in my head, and my kids have my password to my phone, so I keep everything here. But it's good to plan the day. When you plan your day, you'll find that when the day comes, you have confidence, you have control over how the day is going. And then there's also two opinions in terms of planning your day. One opinion is some people say, okay, do it at night. Some people do it in the morning. All it takes is 15 to 20, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to go ahead and you're doing your plan. But the best time to do your plan is the night before, for the reason that once you have it planned, when you go to bed, your subconscious kind of works out what difficulties you're going to meet the next day. So that's the best way to do. But basically, you need to plan your day. Everybody just goes and then you rush into bed. Don't do that. Take a few moments to plan out your day so that you have an action plan, you know how things are going, and you feel you're more in control and gives you much greater confidence. Now, the next one is A. You will notice that the A is much bigger than all the other letters in the acronym here. And the A is for action, okay? And this is what separates the winners from the losers. Because the winners, they take action. Losers don't take action. How you can determine the rest of your day, say you're going through your day, and then you look at your score at the end of the day. Your score is going to be correlated to the amount of action that you've taken that particular day. But let's not confuse busyness with action. Because sometimes you're so busy, and at the end of the day, it's like you're spinning your wheels. You haven't gotten your most important goals done. So this is where the plan and the action come in mind. So make sure through the day you're tackling the most important things and do what you do best. Minimize distractions, be aware of stepping out of your comfort zone, and if you're delegating something to somebody, delegate it properly and make sure it's actually done properly. And don't be in a situation you're putting out too many fires. So there is business and actually achieving what you're going to go ahead and do. The next letter is L, and L is for learning. Learning is going to really help you balance out your day, and it's also a sign that your life is balanced. When you can carve out a little bit of your time at the end of the day or any particular time of the day to get some learning done. And learning doesn't mean you spend hours of it doing. Every moment that you live through your life is learning. The best thing to do, we can learn from yourselves. Sometimes you pause and ask, okay, I had a particular situation. How did I tackle it? How did I do it? And also you're driving somewhere. Just remember, the red lights are not there for your inconvenience. I use them as pauses. When I get to a red light, it's a time I use to kind of like reflect. And it's just a good pause in life. Keeps you from rushing. Other aspect of learning is observing other people. See how other people are doing things, and then you learn from them. Another aspect of learning is through books. And there's two ways you can really get smart out there. You can read books, and you can also watch other people do things. Also, right now, technology, the internet, and everything, learning is virtually at our fingertips right now. So it's very, very easy to learn. Your commute from your home to work, if you have a long commute, within the period that you can commute, turn off that crazy disc jockey and turn your car into a learning center so that you can learn something on your way to work. Another sign that you have a well-balanced life is the E. The E stands for exercise. I know a lot of you are like, oh no, but hey, exercise is good for you, believe me. You will feel more alert, you will feel more centered, and if you exercise, you will tend to have the vigor and the strength, and you will live better. And when I say exercise, it doesn't mean you have to spend 3 days, 3 hours in the gym. No, just a little bit of movement. Take a walk here, take a there. Just make sure you have that activity in your life. The next one is R, for relaxation and recharging. Make sure you spend the time in the day to recharge and relax. Doing that gives you creativity. So this kind of builds up creativity. And the last in my acronym is the T. T is for thinking. Well, we're thinking, well, I've been thinking all day, but this is a different type of thinking. This is an introspective type of thinking. This is the type of thinking at the end of the day, you take a snapshot of your day, and then you imagine that the day was a movie. So you rerun the tape and figure out, what did I do right? What do I need to change in this particular situation? So it gives you a chance to evaluate your day and do it. And by having introspection and really thinking of what you're doing, tends you to give you a much better aspect of life, and you have that feedback towards yourself. I'll go ahead and recap here again. The B is for blueprint. A is for action, which you've got to be able to take it. The L is for learning. We've got to continuously keep learning. E is for exercise. Have that exercise, have movement in your life. And R is for relaxation. Everybody is busy, but please have that guilt-free time off. Relax, recharge yourself, increases your creativity. And T is for thinking.
Our prepared speeches for the evening. If you'll take a moment and use the cards that were at your places when you sat down this evening, you're welcome to vote on our best speaker of the evening, and this pertains to everybody. Yes, please feel free to participate. The next portion of our evening is the impromptu speeches. That's taken care of in table topics. We are running short on time. I'm going to ask Joe to cut it down to 2 opportunities, which means you have a 50-50 chance at being the table topic speaker of the evening. Joe.
Being our regularly scheduled table topics masters not here, I'm using my app to help me come up with topics. So it says, ask me anything. So I'm going to push the button and see what our first topic is. Pet peeve about a former or theoretical someone living with you. Pet peeve about a former or theoretical someone living with you. You have a volunteer. David, what's the first hand up? David, come out up here.
So I normally don't live with roommates. I lived with roommates in college, and that was fine. I lived with my best friend, so it was phenomenal. But then I lived by myself in a 1-bed, 1-bath for a year. I like that too. But it was way too expensive. So I moved in with some people downtown, and one of my roommates, David, he is a musician. He's amazing, actually. He's applying for Peabody School. He's trying to get in there. He plays the upright bass. And practices at night, actually, and so he works during the day, he'll teach people music, and then he'll come home at night. And as soon as he gets home, he wants to spend his free time practicing. So around midnight, he breaks out his sweet upright bass and starts playing these beautiful classical tunes. Unfortunately, while it's like a lullaby, it does wake me up. So that is my pet peeve.
Now for our second topic. Ask me anything. What's the biggest technological change you've seen in your lifetime? What's the biggest technological change you've seen in your lifetime? And if you say the Model T, you know it's not the, you know how old you are. Oh, okay, Parsa, come on up here.
This technological change is something that really amazes me, and that's GPS. When I was a child and we traveled with my family at that time, and there wasn't GPS. And I remember that my mom and daddy taking out maps and trying to find out where should we go, which exit should we take, things like that. And I compare that to GPS that we all use today and how convenient it is. It's probably not the biggest piece of technology in the world, but every time that I use it, since I'm probably one of the last generations who remember math, it's something that I always see, oh my God, how did people used to live just a couple of years ago, and how we consider things as for granted today. Oh, I guess that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, since I was only allowed 2 speakers, we have 2 speakers. You can vote for either David and his musical roommate, or Parsa and his GPS. So those are your 2 choices, David and Parsa. Pick your favorite. And I'm going to turn control of the meeting back over to our, I guess I'll give it to our general evaluator directly, but I see she's still writing, so I'll turn it over to our.
Thank you, Jill, for stepping in for Len and Pat. And Louise, would you kindly come up and lead the evaluation portion of the evening?
All right. So this is the third part of the meeting. The first part is the prepared speeches. The second part is the impromptu speeches. And the third part is the evaluation. Each part is very important. We like to get that evaluation because that's the best part of being moving forward on improving. So tonight we have our first evaluator is Christine Paris, who's evaluating me in speech.
Louise, speech 10. I mean Louise. Leanne, speech 10, inspire your audience, which is one of the most challenging ones because you bring together everything you've learned up till that point. And an inspirational speech, it motivates someone to a higher purpose, a higher action, something more important. And unlike other persuasive speeches, it relies largely on an emotional appeal as opposed to logical appeal. And the structure of it, I read your assignment. To do that, it's divided into 3 sections. First is to connect with the listener's feelings, fears, and goals. And then, after you've made that connection, explain why or how things are changing and how what has been done in the past isn't working. And the third one is then to motivate and challenge the listeners to action. You hit all three of the areas. The first part, connecting with listeners' feelings, fears, and goals, was very short. You probably could have added in some more. And then you did later on in the speech add a couple more things. For example, you started with, you might feel silly or useless or rejected, which is the trying to connect. And then later on in the talk, you talked about negative talk and some other things that you probably could have pulled into the beginning to make the beginning longer. So it was a little bit spread out. And you did spend a good amount of time talking about how things are changing and that what we've done in the past, we really need to start doing something about. And then motivating and challenging the listeners. You talked about doing little things, manageable things. We don't have to be grand, and we can make a change by doing that. You ended with think about what you can do. The assignment says to end on a much stronger, powerful note rather than think about it. I want you to do this. Actually lay out a few things, pick up that trash, pay that extra thing forward, as opposed to just think about it. So that would have been a little bit more powerful. Had a little bit of trouble with the notes, and you told me ahead of time. And when you use notes, it's a little bit harder to show your passion for it. But the one time you did do that is when you did light up when you talked about you saw two people picking up trash. And that relayed to us, okay, do these little things because they do make you feel good. We felt that. So good job, Leanne. Our second evaluator is Alex Baugh, and he evaluated Srinivas.
Srinivas did his icebreaker for our leadership development, and that's because he has completed the Competent Communicator, and now he's starting on Pathways. And for our guests who don't know, that basically means he has already completed everything he really needs to complete in Toastmasters. So him coming back, you just know that he must really like us after all. One of the first things I noticed is when you started your speech, you said, "This is gonna be my life story," or something like that. I would just leave that as your title, or I'd let us find that out as you're giving your speech. Let the speech and the narrative tell that kind of story. One of the other things I noticed is that you're very calm and composed, and I think this is common as well with like developers, is that we get distracted very easily, and I felt like you kept coming up with ideas as you're giving your speech. Yeah, I remember that about you. So, I experience this a lot too. So, I would recommend coming up with a structure of what very specifically you want to focus on, because you have such diverse life experiences that I would try and focus on that. You were trying to explain a lot of interesting parts of India that us outsiders would have no idea. Like I didn't know about all the misnomers and the Sanskrit and stuff like that. So I think that would be an amazing opportunity to focus on those very specific parts. This is kind of random, but I know you also speak a bunch of different languages. So I think it'd be really cool is if you could incorporate some of those in your future speeches if you're ever talking about India. And you could try and give us an idea of what it's like to live there and what it would be like on the street. Like maybe switch between some of your different dialects and what it's like to be there.
Yeah.
I know it's like way out there. The other thing I noticed is I didn't notice like a structure of a beginning, a middle, or an end. It was kind of just all together. So I try and create this narrative of what your life is like. Lay out some groundwork, and then go into like a middle part of how, that beginning part of your life just continues, maybe a theme or something, and then kind of come to a conclusion about how that got you from where you started to where you are today. And that's it.
And our third evaluator is ready to go. Joe evaluated. Parsa.
Parsa. Your icebreaker. The purpose of your icebreaker, which Alex really explained, was to introduce yourself. That's number one. Number two is just to learn the structure of a well-organized speech. And the other thing is you can use not to use notes. Well, you did, things you did really, really well is you didn't use notes, and you looked very comfortable up here. You had a good title and great structure, I thought, around your theme. So you had, an introduction where you started talking about your motto, and then some good supporting material. The challenge was, at the time, yellow means speed up, as America means speed up. Red means stop, not green. Green means you can still go. So just follow traffic waves. Yellow speed up, red stop. And you have 30 seconds. You heard the timer go off in that one time for someone. That's how long 30 seconds is. So you did that again with your table topics. But you looked really, really comfortable up here, and you incorporated humor. You did all the things you're supposed to do in later speeches. Save that for later. It was really, really good listening to you. Good use of humor. And you were also very articulate and carefully spoke. I understood every word you were saying because you didn't rush the words. So it was really a pleasure listening to you. And it was also amazing, you had some really good hand motions that coordinated with your speech. So I was watching that. One of the things you should do is you might want to look ahead of time in the manual or in the online, which is hard to do, in Basecamp to try to figure out. They have some helpful suggestions how to start. And the other thing is you ended it a little abruptly. So something you might want to work on is just remember that yellow means speed up, and green means you can still go on. You might want to take that time to sort of think about how you might want to end. So you started well. You might want to think about coming to back to what you had in the beginning, like re-emphasize your introduction. And the other thing I might suggest the one of the things you're supposed to do in the icebreaker, we were supposed to find about you. So a lot of your supporting material really didn't have much about you, just about your, like maybe some impersonal stories. So this would have been a really good second speech, telling us why it's important, why your life motto, and why it's important to do those things. But as a first speech, we want to know a little bit more about you, where you're from, things you like to do, why your life motto. You might have said, well, here's why my life motto works for me, and then had some personal stories entwined with the other stuff, because you did have, I guess about a minute or two left. So you could have used that time a little more effectively. But that's really all I had. You looked comfortable up front. You didn't use notes. You used your hands. You were easily understood. You used humor. Did all the good things. So great job. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Our final evaluator for the evening is Suzanne, Susan, I know it's Susan. Sorry, Susan. Who is evaluating Bakari.
The voice of the lion, right? So Simba, that's Bakari. And Bakari, what was really cool was that when you got into the body